Okay, let's have it display that the game is over properly. So here I am inside the draw method. I have put everything else in the draw method kind of below the screen here. I want to be able to say if game is game over. Because remember, you have to ask the game object anything having to do with the state of the game. So I'm going to ask it, is the game over? And if it is, let's draw some text that says game over. Let's see, 320 by 275. I think it's also maybe worthwhile pasting all that code from the last time we drew text, where we're going to fill and have the line color be black, and we're going to have the text be centered, and we're going to set the text size. So hopefully that's all going to work out for us. But how do you actually tell if the game is over? So one thing you could do is go to the GameBoard class and find the isGameOver method. The other thing you can do is hold Control and click on this method, or if you're on a Mac, you can do Command click. So you can see if I'm holding the Control key, now it looks like a link, and that will jump me directly to that method in my GameBoard class. So here we go. Now you see I'm in my GameBoard class, and it took me to isGameOver. So how do we know if the game is over? I guess it's only possible to win this game when all of the squares are visible. So I guess what we really want to do is check if all the squares are visible. But how do we do that? Remember, there's that array, the face-up array. So really, the way that we're going to do this is loop over all rows and columns in the face-up array. And if you ever see a location that's face down, so if you ever see a card that's face down, you can return false immediately because we know the game isn't over. Otherwise, at the very, very end, you can return true because you know that the game is over. Let's run it. Well, because I set return to true here, this will be a good test to see if it's going to display the game over message. Okay, so because I said the game was over here in game over, it's saying, yes, the game is over. Although you'll notice I can still play. So let's fix that. I want to make sure that I'm not actually still able to play if the game is over. What we want to do is at the very top of mouse released, I think we want to say if game is game over equals, well, let's do this. If it's true, let's just say return. So what this is going to do is it's going to check. Well, so as soon as they click the mouse, it's going to check, is the game over? And if the answer is yes, return will exit the command, and it won't have a chance to do any of the clicking stuff. It'll just exit. Let's think about all of the ways that they could try and break our game by clicking wrong. So these are like all the things we would have to check for before just trying to do whatever move they're saying we should do. So if they click outside the grid, I think we should detect that and not actually count it as a click. Let's say they've clicked once, the way that I have. For their second click, they shouldn't be able, well, maybe they should be able to click on the same card, and that like undoes the card. That seems like a more advanced thing. So you could add that as an extra. Let's say that once they've clicked a card, they're not allowed to re-click it. They have to click on a blank location. They have to click on an invisible location. An invisible location. Let's pretend that we have a match. Okay, so let's pretend we have a match. If they're going to try and do another match, let's say that their first click is not allowed to be on a face-up card. So let's write all this down. So far we've got that any click that they make has to be in bounds. The first click must be on a face-down card. The second click they make also must be on a face-down card. Is that it? I think maybe that's it. So last time we were trying to check if a move was valid, we put all of our checks at the top of the move method. You may have noticed, though, that we're not using the move method in this game, because instead of a move method, we created our own methods. We created the flip the card method, and we created another method to check if there was a match. So if we're not going to do our move method there, sorry, if we're not going to do our checks there, then it seems like the best place to do them is going to be back inside the mouse released method, which actually detects clicking happening. So let's figure out where to put the pseudocode in. If we want to be sure that they're clicking in bounds, then I think the in bounds check should be right at the very top. By the way, I removed the code that said if. Let's just put it back in. So if game is over, return false. Okay, so same thing. Oh, just return. So same thing here. We want to say something like if the place they clicked isn't in bounds, then we'll also return right away. And notice we haven't registered that they made the click yet. So if we do this check before we add to numclicks, that means it's just like they didn't click at all. So it's just sort of like do over, you didn't click in the right place. All right, so what about enforcing that they're clicking on a card that's face down? So let's do this. Where numclicks equals 1, we'll get the place they clicked at. Actually, let's not even store the place they clicked at yet. Well, yeah, let's store it. So then we'll do something like this. We'll say if game dot is face down, and then we'll give it the card location. So like start lock, get row, start lock, get call. And so this is our way of, and like we'll have to make this method because this is asking, is the card face up or face down? So we say if the card is face down, then it's okay. Actually, I think we should detect if the card is face up. So let's do is face up. So if the card is face up, then we know they're not allowed to do that move. And so we would also want to return before we do anything else. But the problem here is we already registered that they clicked. So it's like they already made their first click, but because it was a bad click, I'm not going to count it. So I think what we should do is we should say num clicks minus minus. This subtracts 1 from num clicks. So it's like up at the top we said, okay, you clicked. I'm going to remember that you clicked by adding 1. And then down here we're like, oh, you clicked on a face up card. Never mind. And so you're going to subtract from the clicks so that way they still get to do their first click over again. It's not like you recorded it. And then we'll exit right away. And I think we want to do this exact same thing inside numclicks 2. Something like that, except instead of start location, you'd want your click 2 location, however you're storing that one. Hopefully by now you know how to make the isFaceUp method. Go to GameBoard. It's got to return Boolean. It's got to take 2 inputs. And all you need to do is look inside the FaceUp array and see, is the value at this location a 1 or a 0? And then you'll return a true or a false. So I'm going to leave that one for you guys.